Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff. We are going to dig in and we have a lot of things that we want to cover today right here on the chain. Flare ignites XRP. Institutions earn yield with XRP. What is going on? And the West is on the brink of something. Man, people are rising up around the world, and we are going to get into all of that. What does that mean? We have one of the greatest financial assets ever made in crypto, and those things are heating up, and the rest of the world is heating up towards freedom, towards some form of a decentralized government potentially. Well, we'll find out because we're going to dig in. But Flare just let the fuse with the F assets, and institutions have an opportunity to pile into, you guessed it, XRP. The blueprint has been laid out. FOMO starting to spread all over the place. We don't like to talk a lot about FOMO, but FOMO can sometimes be real. But while institutions chase the yield, well, the world outside is reaching a breaking point, and we're starting to see protests all over the world. Protests everywhere in the UK, Australia, Japan. Elon Musk calling governments treasonous, and RFK over here in the US exposing the absolute corruption in our food system. So now one thing that we have to ask ourselves when it comes to the West, are we witnessing the slumbering lion waking up? That's really important. Or are we on the brink of collapse of most of these European countries? We're going to break it all down right here. If you guys are ready, we're going to dive into the shallow end head first for maximum impact. So let's kick this thing off the right way. Let's get a little, oh, here we go. Let's get a little aggressive. Let's go rumble. Here we go. Let's go. All right, welcome back. Everybody give a quick shout out where you guys are tuning in from, what part of the world, what part of the country. And if you're in Florida, extra shout out to everyone down in Florida. So that's going to be really great. Zed, excited about what we're going to talk about on Flare. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk crypto first. Let's break down. Let's get into some of the things happening with Flare. First and foremost, there's just so much heating up. We can keep talking about, XRP, all this, and try to break all that down. But when it comes to and trying to look into Ripple, a lot of momentum there, obviously. But the other day, Chip and I talked about Flare. There's been some interesting developments with Flare, and it just seems over the past couple of years, continuous interesting developments. And I want to make sure that we really stay on top of all the great things that are going on with Flare. And if we miss it on one show, let's try to, keep picking it up, because one of the, key points of everything, I'm just going to use this tweet kind of as a guideline. Let me see here. This X post. I said tweet, didn't I? This X post. So let me share my screen real quick so we can dig in and we can get into this. But I want to go through and really identify kind of where we are at. And one of the key points of getting into Flare is that they are really looking into cross chain and having the cross chain dynamic and not being so siloed is really the direction that we want to and have to go. The other point is that there's few companies that have made major progress in the direction of institution movement. Obviously, Ripple is probably one of the bigger ones, but now Flare. Flare has been over the past couple of years building, developing, doing their airdrops, continuously looking for method of improvement. One thing that I definitely want to be able to see would be the use and development of smart contract to further business payment. I want to see B2B, B2C. I've always said it's not really 100% broken. It's broken from a business perspective, not so broken from a consumer perspective. Consumer has all sorts of credit card options to choose from. It's always the business that is going to bear the brunt of it. However, now one of the trends that we're all seeing with maybe more on the B2B, but believe on the B2C side as well, where companies are transferring the credit card fee onto the customer. So if their credit card fee is 3.5% or 4%, guess what? The consumer is going to pay that 3.5 or 4%. At that moment, when businesses start moving that to the retail consumer, then the credit card is no longer as appealing. And now all of a sudden our payment rails will start breaking down. And that's where, having a crypto mechanism, fast settlement, efficient settlement, cheap settlement, makes a big impact. Now, if you can have a credit card that is also utilizing the technology of blockchain to simplify the process, create a yield environment, for the bank, and then also help put together a methodology of reducing the interest impact on the transaction cost. So if you can take a transaction cost from 4% or 3.5% that's being charged to the business down to maybe 0.5%, 1%, 1.5%, 2%, then it becomes appealing again for the business to say, okay, I can absorb that. But now, the credit card fees are just astronomical. And so as the trend is now, okay, from a business perspective, you want to use your credit card. Well, guess what? Yes, we'll take the credit card, but you're going to pay the fee, and so again, having a solid payment rail solution between B2B to me is where things have to end up. But right now, the first step is institution. So we need banks, we need financial institutions, and we need to see an easy transaction of movement of money. But what we're looking at here, and this is interesting because as Flare is laying out this blueprint, so to speak, with the FAssets here, per the Flare community note, the first wave of institutions start earning yield on their XRP through Firelight 5, and institutional FOMO begins, and we see numerous treasury companies starting to join the party. So now, as these treasuries start getting involved, more companies start getting involved, then now we're starting to see the momentum. If we put this, who had mentioned, did somebody bring up the ETFs, October ETF? I thought I might have seen a comment fly by in that, but maybe not. Let me see. But yeah, so October rolling around. If we're going to see the ETF, the XRP ETF, I believe the XRP ETF is going to have a major impact on XRP specific. Flare, what they're doing from an institution perspective is bringing the utility of blockchain, bringing the utility of cross-chain, XRP being one of the bigger players in the bunch. And here we go. And then we start looking to see looking for the momentum or movement for Main Street adoption. So the institutions adopt, institutions simplify for consumption, for consumer to utilize, and then we're off to the races. So here we have laggards forced to adopt to remain competitive and provide users, investors with yield on income. Earning yield on XRP becomes industry standard. No longer is it a dormant asset powered by Flare. What does that exactly mean? What overall, what is the full trend then? How is this going to impact somebody that would be investing in the crypto space? Where is that the valuation of the digital asset? And I believe that it's right now, and we've discussed this so many times on the show, but the trend of the quote unquote altcoin market has been and tied to and trails with Bitcoin. Obviously, if Bitcoin takes a hit, the rest of the market will catch up eventually and also take a hit, and we'll go through the different cycles to separate between a Bitcoin and some of these and the other assets, let's say XRP or others. We definitely need to have utility, and the utility has to come through institution adoption, has to come from full scale liquidity from the crypto asset. It can't just be a held asset. There has to be utility with the asset, and we also have to see Main Street adoption somehow. So whether the Main Street adoption of the digital asset will be direct or kind of behind the scenes, where whichever payment solution or technology they use is backed by and utilizing XRP, is going to definitely be massive, for XRP. But again, what's exciting me about Flare is the cross chain dynamic, because when somebody gets into a car, nobody really cares about how the car starts. It used to be a key. We've moved on from putting a key in the ignition to pushing a button, but no one really considers, okay, when I turn the key, what exactly was that doing to set off an electric spark? What did the spark plug do? What did the battery do? What does the gas do? Functionality of the gas, how does the engine block, work and create power that goes to the wheels? What exact, no one's really considering any of that when you get into the car to drive from point A to point B. And it's the same thing when you use your credit card. Nobody's really considering, how does my credit card work? They just go, I'm going to go buy, and it works. I've got credit and I can purchase things. And it's the same thing with crypto. We want to get to that point where if a Flare is able to utilize cross-chain solution, and we're bridging all these gaps, we're getting away from all the silos, it changes the full dynamics. It shifts people's focus and attention from the assets to the solution, to the whichever platform they're going to be utilizing. Now, if you're going to use a Flare because it's institution adoption, and institutions are coming to Flare because they want to put crypto assets and hold in their treasury, they want to earn yield, it changes it. Really changes the whole solution, which will be good. What is this? You see, Jeff, when a bird loves a bee. What? Talking about birds, I saw the funniest thing. So in our backyard, we have a lake behind the house. And it's just funny because throughout the day, different wildlife shows up. So normally in the morning, you'll get the mother ducks with the baby ducks, or you just get some of the ducks. Then you get the Canadian geese. Sometimes they're really loud. Sometimes they just hang out. Then they'll go away throughout the day. And then at some point in the afternoon, the iguanas show up. And today we had different points of time, different size iguanas. And then I looked outside at one point this afternoon, and there were 4 iguanas sitting in the backyard looking at the water. And there was, next to one of the iguanas was a pigeon. And I've never seen a pigeon sitting in the backyard, but he was literally sitting right next to the iguana as though they were hanging out. And it was kind of funny. So it had nothing to do with the bird loves a bee, but the iguana and the pigeon were definitely hanging out today, which was interesting. Never seen that before. So here, the price, well, you can make your own predictions there. So obviously Flare supply. So within this, right, here they're talking about from the Flare community's focus specifically, what does this mean for a holder of Flare? Obviously more utility. How does the Flare token factor into all of this? Total value locked, Flare collateral requirements, Flare supply shock. And so I like how there's so much focus outside of just, the one asset. There's others that are all facilitating the growth of this space, whether it's from Bitcoin, Ethereum, which are 2 of the major players recognized going towards quote unquote Main Street. XRP is right there. That's now gaining more institution recognition. And then Flare, and Flare is probably a little bit younger in terms of identification, but if they keep building institution solutions like this, we'll definitely start seeing some good moves. I know Chip and I have been talking about everything that's been happening here in the earning of yield, but I like to see, I see the post, and this post came up today from the Flare community. I'm like, man, there's just so much movement and so many different things that we can focus in on and look at, and how does one influence the other. And so if, again, you want to look at the quote unquote altcoin, from a speculative perspective, at what point do we break off from Bitcoin, when Bitcoin right now, again, as I said before, kind of sets the trend. It sets the ups and the downs of the market. And so this is it. It's all about utility. It's all about development. And so as we get there, the next big step for me is looking at XRP at the ETF. space. I think the Bitcoin ETF acceptance was a massive reward for the Bitcoin space because of Main Street acknowledgement, or I would say Main Street availability, or availability to Main Street through typical 401k type platforms to be able to invest in Bitcoin is massive. So you get to the point where you can do that with XRP. We get to a point where you can do that with some of these other assets, and that just pours huge sums of money into the market. So obviously, if you're investing in the ETF, it's that whichever ETF company you're working with, they're the ones that are holding the asset, and but it's still huge amounts of money moving around. So it's definitely overall net positive. If it was just that without this, everything that we just talked about with Flare and development with what Ripple's doing, and we can go down the list, then it'll be all speculative. Be just like Bitcoin. You're putting money there as a store of value, but at some point you have to have more than the store of value. There has to be more to it. There has to be utility in and around it as well. So that to me is was really important to focus in on. Let me look and see where we have what some of the comments might be. So we got Nick, take this off. Flare favorite, second to XRP, real good. Visual Vendetta, this before they issued token, just spec. Oh, right, that's when they the $3 Flare. I think that's when it was even on BitTrue, and it came in a form of an IOU, I believe. I think that's how it kind of panned out. XRP Flare XDC, and there you go, Chad. 5 trillion coming in through the ETFs. So as long as the ETFs get approval in October and they're rolling out November, December timeframe, we're going to see a huge amount of money moving into XRP, through the ETF. That'd be amazing. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that happen. Definitely going to be a critical point. So, all right, let's move on. So, a couple of things, and the next one is going to be interesting because I want to know how this is potentially going to impact markets. But this was actually, and I have to show this. This is the coolest thing. It's amazing what's being developed out there. And I don't even know if this could be put into somebody's living room, but when you guys see this, look at this thing. Could you imagine having this in your house? Imagine playing a video game on this or just watching a movie. Look at this thing. Look at this screen. Look at this. It's crazy. He's like just surrounded by this thing. Turn it down. Look at this. This is the direction that technology is going. It's so impressive to see. It gives you that sensation of movement. This is just so impressive. I saw this. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. If you could get that into the house, I would really like this. Look at this thing. Here we go. Man, oh man. I think they might have had something like back in the day at Epcot or something like that. But now you can see the size of the room that he's in, that it's so possible. Anyhow, that I saw that, like, I got to share that. That's the craziest thing. So, all right, move on. Now, getting into some, difficult times. Now, this is Microsoft. So Pete Hegseth announcing an internal audit of Bill Gates founded Microsoft digital cloud system for being used by Chinese nationals to hack the DoD systems. Now, I look at this because Microsoft has been kind of at when we're at an interesting point, and to see, back in 2000 when Al Gore went after Microsoft, then it was kind of the pinprick that burst the bubble for the dot-com era. And so this, Microsoft isn't a stranger to having issues. And so this one, I definitely want to play this because it could have ripple effect in the markets, but it's basically putting some of these players on notice to say, hey, we know what you're doing, we know what you've done, it's time for you to rein it in or else, so let's listen to this real quick. Let me turn up the volume first. Got a minute. Am I sharing my screen? Probably, maybe I'm not. Oh no, I'm not even sharing my screen. Here am I. I'm pulling it up and looking at this. So here we go. Let me play this real quick.
Last month, the Department of Defense was made aware of an Obama-Biden era legacy program called Digital Escorts. For nearly a decade, Microsoft has used Chinese coders, remotely supervised by U.S. contractors, to support sensitive DoD cloud systems. The program was designed to comply with contracting rules, but it exposed the department to unacceptable risk. I mean, if you're thinking America first and common sense, this doesn't pass either of those tests. So I initiated an immediate review of this vulnerability, and I want to report our initial findings. So the use of Chinese nationals to service Department of Defense cloud environments, it's over. We've issued a formal letter of concern to Microsoft documenting this breach of trust, and we're requiring a third-party audit of Microsoft's digital escort program, including the code and the submissions by Chinese nationals. This audit will be free of charge for U.S. taxpayers. I'm also tasking the Department of Defense experts with a separate investigation of the digital escort program and the Chinese Microsoft employees that were involved in it. These investigations will help us determine the impact of this digital escort workaround. Did they put anything in the code that we didn't know about? We're going to find out. Additionally, all Department of Defense software vendors will identify and terminate any Chinese involvement in DoD systems. It blows my mind that I'm even saying
this. It's so crazy to consider that we have a company like Microsoft that thought it was okay to work with contractors, Chinese contractors, not here in the US, but they're contracting, outside and working on, top level programming that could have that kind of impact within the Department of Defense is just mind-boggling. Now, putting them on notice puts many different companies on notice to say, whatever you got away with before, it's time to stop. It's time to, straighten your act out. We're not putting up with this anymore. It's also, cutting off much of the slush funding that has been going on around as well. So you got to cut off the slush funding. But let's continue with this.
These things, it's such common sense that we ever allowed it to happen. That's why we're attacking it so hard. We expect vendors doing business with the Department of Defense to put U.S. national security ahead of profit maximization. I'm committed, like the president is, to ensuring that our national security networks are secure. Again, it's America first, and it's common sense. This never should have happened in the first place, but once we found out about it, we've attacked it aggressively from the beginning, and we're going to follow all the way through the tape to make sure that this is addressed. So DoD is working in conjunction as well with our partners in the rest of the federal government.
All right. So to me, that, is definitely, imperative. Obviously, a lot going on, a lot of things have to happen. And this is, again, it's putting everybody on notice, especially if we're going to make this move and we're going to start looking at, crypto asset companies. We're going to look at the blockchain. We're going to look at DeFi. We're going to look at all this different possibilities with quote unquote computerized money, right? So secure, not secure, how do we get to the root terminology of it, and how do we get to the root technology of it, and just being aware of, hey, we gotta, if this was happening at the Microsoft level, let's be very cautious of all the different blockchain entities, the exchanges, the platforms that we work with, who has control of our money, where is it being custodied, or is there a cold storage custodian, exactly where does it go, who has oversight, and there's so many different elements of that. And then we get into traditional banking, traditional finance, big institution, who are the players they're working with, who's custodying, how are they using it, what are they doing with it, all these different factors. And that's concerning right there. Chinese contractors that are working on programming for the Department of Defense. And so being observant of that, definitely is critical at this point, considering the direction that we're moving in. So I want to get into some things that have been going on around the world. I think this is really important, and a reason why I wanted to spend a decent amount of the show on it, because over the past days, we've seen people rising up on a global scale. Many of the countries that are represented here, we have audience members in many of these different countries, including Japan. And so when I see what's going on and people that are taken to the streets, there's definitely some some movement that's happening. And I think what I want to start out with, well, first I want to pull this image up. So I've seen this image a couple times. Let me see where it is, and then I'll pull it over to get rid of this video here. Then we have a whole bunch of different videos to look at. This was posted by somebody. Here we go. So let me share my screen real quick, and you guys will see this. All right, here we go. So I saw this. You see this little kid, the great lion, wrapped in the British flag, and the poor kid is saying, "Please wake up. My future is at stake. While the invaders are conquering our home, you're sleeping, and it's time for you to wake up. Please wake up." Now, I see this kind of as a quote unquote meme picture, and I have a video of a Japanese girl at one of the concerned protests talking about the exact same thing, concerned and almost in tears. And we saw two little kids over there. I wish I would have got that video. This girl, maybe she was 11, and she was defending her sister with a sword, with a knife, and an axe from some of these invaders. And so when you have a little girl that's 10 or 11 having to defend her sister with an axe and a knife, something's wrong. And so this is just the beginning. So I saw this, I'm like, man, it's kind of gut wrenching, right? I'm looking at this, and we're concerned about the direction that XRP goes. If this part of the world falls, then it doesn't matter how much money you have in the world, because this is kind of a critical mass. It's just kind of like if the US fell, if we didn't have the administration that we have now, righting all the wrongs, then it wouldn't matter how much money you had, at the end of the day. And this is, kind of very, kind of a crucial moment and kind of a crucial image. But what I want to start with, I was going to save this one to the end, but this was a video that was made in 2017. It's been shared many, many times. Short. This was the foreign minister from the UAE 8 years ago, 2017. This was Foreign Minister Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed. He was warning the West. And so let me pull this one over here real quick, and we'll bring this up. This was 2017. Hang on a second. Here it is. Right, let's see. Okay, here we go. All right, let's play this one real quick. And it's interesting because the one, well, you'll see it. Let's play this real quick.
And let me say this in English so you can understand what I'm saying.
I have translation.
No, I know you have translation, but I'm.
Okay. So the audacity of whoever he's talking to, right? He's saying, I want to say this in English, but the audacity is she's like, "Oh, I don't need to hear it in English." The guy obviously speaks, perfect English, right? And she's like, no, I've got the translation. He wants her to understand it directly from his lips, so she can comprehend the concern and the reality of the situation. So here we go.
I just want to make sure you get it right.
People are uncomfortable. I mean, I don't know, you hear some laughing in the back, but I feel like this was 8 years ago, right? 2017.
There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremists and terrorists coming out of Europe because of the lack of decision making, trying to be politically correct, or assuming that they know the Middle East and they know Islam and they know the others far better than we do.
This to me is the epitome, what he just said, the epitome of the left, the stupidity of the West. Is that, and many of the protesters that you see out there, is that somehow they believe that they know more about what happens over in the Middle East, right? You see them protesting, and what he just said, it is just so like mission critical to hear. He's like, they believe they know more. They think they know the outcome. They think they know the situation, and I've been involved and I've researched this topic for I can't even tell you how many years. Goes back quite a few years, and then I run into people that have just begun learning about it and think they know more. And it kills me, from my own, personal experience involved in politics and dealing with Middle East affairs and things like that. And then people have that audacity to think that they know more when they get all their information off their leftist propaganda news stations. But yet the Europeans, for whatever reason, not to criticize or insult, but for whatever reason, think that they've romanticized the Middle East, and they have this, and through this kind of romantic, opinion and belief of the Middle East, maybe the dress, the food, the coffee, and the food out of the Middle East, but it's some of the best food that's out there. I mean, I love Middle Eastern food. I love, all the different flavors, and that's kind of my go-to. If you're looking for home cooking, for me, it's sitting down and having kebab and shawarma and falafel and hummus and stuff like that. I love it. I can't get enough of it. And yet, but they've romanticized it to a point that they believe that, they know that, hey, we can have, freedom. All they need is freedom. And, there's great people over there for sure, run by tyrannical governments. But here,
Islam, and they know the others far better than we do. And I'm sorry, but that's pure ignorance.
and that's exactly what it is. Just, pure ignorance. And it's ignorance to the point of what we've seen unfolding in Europe now for, the past decade, maybe longer, 10 years plus. You would think that 9/11, was kind of a wake-up call on everything that happened post 9/11, meaning our involvement in Middle Eastern conflict for 20 years. And yet people still didn't understand or learn from any of those scenarios, which is mind-boggling to me. Canada, unfortunately, over in Canada, you started with 30 million people. It doesn't take much to upset the apple cart to get 10, 15, 20% population control. So you start with 30, 10% isn't that far-fetched, right? Then you get 3 million, then 6 million, and now you got a complete imbalance. and then Canada's done, and then that's it. The question is, it's not people coming legally that have a passion to want to be in the country. It's what's been happening over the past decade, which is the mass migration of illegal immigrants, under these quasi forms of protective status, and they're bringing them in all around the world, putting them into areas that there's no assimilation. Typically, if you move into another country, you find a methodology to assimilate. You learn the language, you learn the culture. You don't lose your own identity and your own culture, but you came there for a purpose, to be in a country that you really want to be in. Most of these people that come in mass numbers, stuck all together, zero assimilation. They don't lose any of their culture, and yet they left a really bad environment, supposedly, and they bring that really bad environment to wherever they're going, and they have no desire for change. And now we're starting to see that the cultural, blending isn't what they want. They just, again, they want to bring their culture to wherever they're supposedly assimilating. They want the region that they're moving to actually assimilate to what they believe. It's super problematic, for many different reasons. But as we go down, so I was gonna save this one for after, but I'm gonna put this one up first, kind of, and then we'll look at some of the positives that happened and kind of unfolded over the past days. So let's see here. Hang on a second. This is hang on. There's another video. Here we go. Let me bring it to state. So Elon Musk said a government that puts foreigners above their own people is by definition treasonous and illegitimate. The people of Britain deserve a government that represents their interests, not those of shadowy foreign organizations. That was Elon Musk.
Your lawyers, under your guidance, have said in terms that the rights of asylum seekers are more important than the rights of local people in Epping Forest. Would you?
How amazing is that? That the rights of these illegals that they brought in are more important than the sovereign population, the citizens of the country.
You at least acknowledge that is what they will hear. And it's up to you. Ministers can say we agree with that or we don't agree with it. You can't simply say, let's balance things. Do you agree with what your lawyers said or don't you?
Yes, of course we do. But
your lawyers...
I mean, it's so crazy. I can't believe what's going on with the leftists over in England. I mean, it's really mind-boggling. All right, before we get into the good of what happened, it is the bottom of the hour. So, and I don't see, oh, you know what? I forgot to pull up the Yeti. Hang on one second. So now I got to do this. So obviously Chip and I are on, but now I got to do the StreamYard drawing giveaway tool. Hang on, let me grab that. And Chip is on, by the way. He's over there in the chat. Everybody say what's up to Chip while I get the giveaway page going. I forgot to pull it up. So let me get the giveaway page going. Here we go. All right. That's crazy. We only have 2 in so far. All right. But now we're going to get everyone fired up. You guys know the word. You guys know what we got to pump in there. So get ready. Chip, hang in there for this. This is the song. This is the, well, I think you guys are going to like this one. Anyhow, here we go. Let's roll it.
Get ready to win a badass Yeti. Try fire, clan, spirit, walker steady. Averse the name coming down with might. Step in the circle, feel the vibe ignite. Word of the day, YETI. Zaman wallet, click, don't let it slide. Spirit walkers heavy, moving as one. Baseline rolling, the battle begun. Eyes burn blue in the shadow and smoke. Horns cut sharp while the rhythm gets broke. Ever don't creep.
There you go. The Zaman wallet. You like that? The Zaman. Exactly. That's funny. You like the coffee cameo. So you guys got to type in some Yetis in there, and that's it. But all right. So now let's get to the goods here, and this is going to be interesting. So we're going to start one by one. So are we at the tipping point? All right. So country by country of things that have been going on over the past days. So I'm just going to drag them in. Let me just share the screen. I'll bring them up one by one. And this would be this was in Australia. I think there's a tipping point that's been reached. This is the point. We've definitely reached a tipping point. And I've got more video from Australia that will show up, but I want to show you a bunch of countries all at once. I think the sound is too loud. Let me just turn it off here before I share it because it's a whole bunch all at once. And here you go. Ireland, Germany, France, Poland, Britain, Australia, Spain, Austria, and we're going to add Japan to the list here as well. So we go Jamin wallet. You're right. So country by country by country. So here we go. Let's look at this one here. Let's go. All right, let's see. Here we go. Now this is back in England. Let me drag this one over here. Here we go. So here we go. This is England. Pump up some volume here. Oh, let me turn the volume down. I've got the music. Instantly be that'll be the end of that. But there you go. That's one scene over in England. You can see all the flags. And I'm telling you, it's country by country by country. And I've got 3 over in Japan. So let me make sure I play these exactly in the order that I want. And you look at it's interesting. You see protests around the country, around the world. Then you go to Japan and they're in orderly, organized lines. Like, you know, when are you going to see a protest that's orderly? I don't care where you're at. Where you're going to see people marching in the streets. Not going to be orderly. But here's the one I was telling you about. So I'm going to play 4 videos or maybe a couple videos out of Japan. So this is Japan. So I want you guys to, you know, listen to this. I don't think we can understand it, but it's the point of it.
怖い初めてデモに来ました。こうしてデモに来なければならない。若い子たちはまだ少ないですけど、私はもう本当に石破さんのせいで怖くてたまりません。お母さんに今日でも行ってくるよって言って出てきましたけど、やっぱりもう親にも申し訳なくて、その安心する未来がないことを今石破さん移民をたくさん入れようとして、このままじゃ日本はレイプ大国になってしまいます。
From a rape from country, rape prone, just like over in Europe is her point, right? So this is what we're seeing. And so here she is speaking about it. And then when we get into a couple of these other videos, hang on, I think I pulled up, here we go. So now we get into actual in Japan. So now they're kind of marching in Japan. This is their protest. Again, you look at other countries, man, they're all over the streets and everything. And then right, Japan out of all countries would be the last one you would expect to see people protesting to save their country. You would think, hey, it's not gonna fly over in Japan, right? So, and it's interesting too, you know, just as you start seeing, you know, country by country, there's just so much going on. But this video here was super impressive to me. Hang on, let me pull this one over. Look at this one. Look at this. Here we go. We go to the beginning. Watch this. Look at that. Look how many people. You're telling me there's no problem in Japan. That people in Japan aren't worried about the safety of their country. And they don't like their existing regime that they have in place that might not be looking out for the interests of their people, of protecting their people in Japan. And I'm playing all these, you know, another video for Japan, just because, again, it's, to me, it's a little bit, you know, shocking that we even have to consider Japan is at the at an epicenter of, you know, that girl saying that her country, you know, she doesn't want it to be a rape-prone country like over in Europe, and the European governments don't seem to care, you know. So, you know, so it puts people at a huge disadvantage when, you know, your rights are just not being protected, and someone that has recently been brought in to your country has been more than you do. Australia, rising up, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, showing 4 different videos at the exact same time. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, total, cumulative, gathered around Australia in protest carrying the Australian flag. You know, just, man, just so, and it's so good to see that people are actually coming out to stand up, you know, for their country and say, look, you know, we're not going to take this anymore. You know, there's just so much more that is, you know, the people have to take a stand at some point. They have to be willing to take that stand. And what kills me is that every time I see videos coming out of England, you know, like this, and you see the police, and the police typically they can't even apprehend, you know, someone, you know, violent offender, yet they come and pick on citizens. Look at this. They'll pick on, look at the way they treat people. It's just mind-boggling. Look at that. He threw him to the ground because they just have seemingly complete animosity and hostility to their own flag, to their own countrymen, right? It's mind-boggling. It's just completely mind-boggling to see some of these videos like this. But at least, you know, people are saying, hey, you know what? We've had enough. You know, it's time. It's finally time, you know. And so then, you know, we see that, and then there's this, you know, over in the UK. There you go. Look at that. How many people? Families marching. People care. People are passionate. People want to save their country, right? They're hanging flags everywhere. There's flags all over, you know, which is really great to see too. So, and here's another one. And then there's a couple more important ones. There's one more important video after that I kind of mixed in here, but here you go. Look at this. Look at this one. Again, Australia. Look at that. Look how many people have taken their time. They've come to the streets wrapped in their flag to protest. Say, look, say, look at the hat right there, right? Let's make Australia great again. Let's make the UK great again. Let's make all these countries, put them back on track and give them, some sovereign protections, which is really, really critical at this point in time. So here's another one. This is going to be kind of a crazy stat from over in England, right? And this is staggering, absolutely staggering statistic right here. So this is party in crisis. Reform UK cannot function without wherever these guys are. I don't even know who that is, but let's just play this. So conservative commentator, but this is going to be a staggering statistic. Hang on, let me turn up the volume. There we go. Here we go.
Let me show you the front page of the Sunday Express. 6.6 billion quid. I thought there was no money, by the way. There's no money. Big fiscal hole. No. 6.6 billion. Cost of asylum. This isn't the cost of asylum seekers. This is the cost of asylum seekers support. What do I mean by that? So we paid £6.6 billion on asylum seeker and refugee support schemes. Wait for this. This is trips to the zoo and tennis lessons. This is according to the Sunday Express. It also includes sandwich deliveries, friendship services, a visit to Arsenal. The idea behind all of this is to help them integrate into British life. I'll tell you what, I quite like a trip to the zoo or Arsenal or whatever. Also, all of these schemes, the massive cost was racked up in 200 government and local council funded schemes over the past few years. So the people in the Wethersfield Asylum accommodation site were given £20,000 worth of sports coaches and equipment for activities such as volleyball, tennis, athletics 4 times a day, more than most children get. Hundreds of thousands of pounds have been given to.
So it's weird, they throw money at it. $6.6 billion that could have been, given to local population to help. They bring these people in, people that they're bringing in do not care about the country they're coming to. They don't care about the communities they're coming to. They're bringing their own kind of warped sense of community in certain senses. I'm not saying every single one of them, but you bring over a mass number of people and you're importing whatever they left with, because you're importing the community, you're importing their cultural norms, their status, their leadership. You're bringing the whole mass over there. They have no reason to assimilate. Going to a zoo and playing sports isn't going to help assimilate. The way you have someone assimilate is, teaching them the language, teaching them the history, bringing them, making ideology. Exactly, Jeff. That was the word I was looking for. They're bringing over the ideology, and so there's so much to assimilate into a society, requires much more than going to a zoo. Zoo is not going to help you assimilate. Bringing them through an education system, and again, language is where it first starts, but then breaking them out of the community, breaking it out of the ideology is extremely complex. David Jetts is saying what's destroying the West is due to a simple principle. As humans are being in conflict with natural law and therefore immoral, they become and remain enslaved. Interesting comment. And then Jim D is saying it's pretty much an end of the old Roman Empire and even the concept of nationhood united under common culture and religion. Mere tax and profit thiefdoms for local elite banking cartels and mega corps. Well, then you're replacing that then with ideology, which if you don't understand the ideology that is being imported into these countries, it's destructive, right? They're coming basically to take, not become a part of. And that's what we showed, the guy from the UAE. That's exactly what he was saying. You're bringing people over. You don't even understand the ideology that you're bringing. You don't understand what you're doing, not understanding who you're letting in your country. You're letting the wolves into the hen house. It is basically what it is, right? Or into the sheep pasture. Those aren't sheep milling about. Those are wolves. And so the more that come in, just like here over the past, 4 years under Biden, think about the millions of people that poured in here. They weren't coming here because of their passion for, coming to the United States to be American and to live the American dream. Many of them were coming here to import their ideology into this country to destabilize this country, right? And it's a replacement of. They're coming here to displace the civilization and displace your ideology and displace your freedoms. And it's easy in certain countries like Canada, super easy, to flip flop a country like Canada, not a problem. 30 million people, right? There's almost 30 million people in the state of Florida. There's more than that in the state of California. And you look at the difference between a Florida and a California and Canada, right? And you see the nuance, and so that is part of the narrative. And so it's definitely a crisis, and we're seeing billions and billions of dollars being spent. Now, again, these are, really important things that are happening at this exact moment, because especially as we start making movement towards any type of, crypto financial infrastructure within blockchain or what have you, then we also have to make sure that we're holding our governments accountable and on track, and we don't let them, kind of finagle somehow. They're putting in programmability currency with programmability or anything that could usurp our rights, our sovereign rights to our country, to our freedoms. And fortunately, in the U.S., we have many more freedoms than other places because we have a constitution that was specifically written to tell the government what they cannot do, what they can and cannot do. And it gives the citizens of this country, a good deal of rights. And you look around to other countries and if they do have some form of a constitution, it's specifically designed so that, they tell the people what they cannot do and dictate to the people to, limit movement. Just like, you look at how the police are behaving in a country like England, right? And the way, do you not have freedom? They're going to go have like a mind control, or you post something on a social media and the police can show up at your door. That's just crazy. But I guess we weren't that far away from that. So I guess that could have happened here as well, which is insane, So crypto can foster freedom. Crypto can bring about financial freedoms through DeFi decentralization, not necessarily freedom per se. But all right, let's see where we're at. Where are we at time-wise? Oh, okay. Let me see. Giveaway tool. We still have a limited number in there. We got 9 in there. Let me play this song one more time. Let's try to get we're at 9 Yetis. Let's try to get a few more before we do the drawing here. And by the way, since we gave Jim D I kept the Yeti from yesterday, Havor, because we gave away the wrong one yesterday. I had a couple open and I was like, oh, here you go. And I gave Jim D a different one, but it was still one of the Spirit Walkers. So he still got one of the Spirit Walker clan. And so here is the bad boy that we're giving away. Oh, wait a minute. There he is right there. That is the real Havor. That's the one that you guys are getting. Badass Yeti number 504. That's who you'll get. And you can see him right there. Spirit Walkers, Havor. So get ready. Type in Yeti. Make sure you have your Zaman wallet ready. And let's see what we got.
Get ready. To win a badass Yeti. Try fire, avoid the name coming down. Step in the circle. Feel the vibe ignite. Word of the day. What ETR? Wallet, Islam. Spirit walkers, winners, one place.
That's so funny. I was trying to figure out what Chip was saying. He goes, Zaman. So, so in order to get the song to say Zaman, I have to type it out with a Z. I get so used to typing out with a Z that I have to put, then I wrote it up in there. I don't know if you guys noticed. Zaman is an X, spelled with an X. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, I like that one. It was fun making them. I go through so many different iterations of it, kind of go through, fine tune the lyrics. You have to keep breaking down the lyrics to make sure you get the right cadence, the right tonality. And then, you change up all the different prompting. Then you have to figure out like from the music, and it's crazy, but it's a lot of fun as you kind of go through it. Sometimes you get into it and these guys are screaming and I'm like, why the hell are they yelling? And it's funny. Sometimes it's like spot on. Sometimes you just get dumb, so. All right. So it looks like we've only got, if that's possible, which I've never seen this before. We only have 10. So you guys are going to have a really solid chance of winning right here, whoever's in. So it's a real easy chance of winning. So let me just pull it over here. Let's share it. And then we're going to draw, pick the drawing right here. 11. There we go. We got 11 in. So here we go. I never disappoint. What formats of music do you guys want to hear? So we've gone through all sorts of genres of music. I'm trying to figure out some new genres of music for the next one on Wednesday. Yeah, we'll check it out. So, all right, here we go. 3, 2. Oh, you know what? Almost missed something. Here we go. There we go. Now I'm talking. All right, now we can draw. Here we go. So rigged. Chad nauseum. Look at that. Look at that, Chad. Chad is the big winner of the day. Chad. All right. Look at that. Chad nauseum. Is Chad still Chad's the one who said it was so rigged. So rigged. Totally rigged. Let's see here. Let me do a control F. And up. Man, Chad, I don't think you've won in a while. It's been a long time. So there you go. Chad is the big winner. Big winner today. Chad nauseum. Look at that. And that was number. What number do we have? What did I say it was? 504? 504. 504. And on the 31st of August, tomorrow is Memorial Day. You guys are going out anywhere for Memorial Day? Chad has been verifying your humanity for 5 minutes. All right, come on, Chad. Where is your Zaman wallet? Hang on a minute. Go to viewing on YouTube.
You're not burnt out from doing too much. You're burnt out from trying to manage it all. Burnout doesn't.
All right. Now, let me go to, I closed it by mistake. There we go. There it is. I see it. Chad, throw in your, just so I have it here, throw in your X handle as well. So I can put it in here. Oh, you were number 2. Yeah, let me just double check that I got the right one. Yep. Okay, here we go. Oh, there it is. All right, I'll get to that in a minute. First and foremost, though, we are going to take down. You're the shit. You're the shit. Here we go. All right, let's transfer this bad boy over to you. Let me paste it in here. Here we go. Oh, still had the number 2. And the R. All right, here we go. I am going to. Wait a minute. It says invalid. Why does it say invalid? Are you missing a letter perchance? Is there possibly a missing letter, or do I have a space someplace? Starts with an R, ends with a capital H. Try that again. I think there might have been a space in there. Try it again. There we go. Got it fixed. Got it fixed. Here we go. Transfer this bad boy over to you. All right, it's on its way. I'm going to slide to to accept. I love how fast this is. Sending these NFTs is just so impressive. That's it. Submitted, verifying, sent, just like that. Submitted successfully. You are now the proud owner of number 504, just like that. Done and done. Done and done. And you are the proud owner of a badass Yeti from the blue tribe of the clan Spirit Walkers. His name is Avor. There you go. Sweet. You paste that there, and we'll get that over to you in a minute. Sweet. That's awesome. And you guys are awesome. Great show tonight. It was really good having you guys all here with us on the chain Sunday night for Memorial Day weekend. You guys have some plans for tomorrow. If you're going anywhere for Memorial Day, you see some of the things that might be happening for Memorial Day. You know, if you're going in celebration of, if you have any members of the family that were in the military, or if you had served and you're going to any events, I want to thank all of our soldiers out there that have served and have made the greatest sacrifice, you know, for the for our freedoms here at home. Definitely appreciate all of you, and want to say a big thank you on this Memorial Day, and also a big thank you to all you guys here for sure. So, what did I say? Did I say Memorial Day? I am completely off track. Labor Day. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking. I was having this exact conversation with somebody earlier. Labor Day, Memorial Day. I don't know. I got it stuck up in my head on Memorial Day. I am getting tired tonight. Labor Day. You are 100% correct. Yes. I don't know why I said I was so fired up with the what we were talking about. I got caught up in the Memorial Day thought process. Labor Day. You're 100% correct. Stand corrected, but I still want to thank everybody for being on here with me tonight. And if you're doing anything for Labor Day, happy Labor Day to everybody. And that's it. That's all we've got. That is it. We'll check you guys out on Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But you're right, Chad. That's all I think about. You know, I think about everything, you know, and thanking the vets for everything that they've done. And I was, you know, thinking about everything that's been happening over the weekend, and people that are fighting for the saving their country, each one of them, and everything that has gone on, you know, over the past couple years here for us to fight for our country here in the United States. Man, yeah, it just so very, very meaningful overall, and that's always very thankful. But thankful for you guys again, and we will check you guys out Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you. See you on the next one. Jeff out of here. Where's the out? Here we go.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.